Before we begin, Nick,
Yes.
I think this is more of a me thing. Let me just get it out now. I'm decentering my whiteness, and it's gone.
Just like that.
Just like that.
All right.
Solved racism. You heard it here first.
3.8 out of 5.
Whoa, no!
That just doesn't work for us.
Sound, speeding, camera, rolling, scene, 85, take 303, mark.
No half stars on take 303. No half stars on take 303. Alright, no half stars on take 303.
Welcome to Take 303, powered by 4-Way Media, the podcast with the guy who knows a lot about film.
And his friend.
I'm Nick Molinari.
I'm JP Brooks. We're talking about everything film and television, and today we are talking about Matt Walsh's Am I a Racist? And probably the last. Probably the last episode.
Before we start today's episode, we should start with a disclaimer. We have mentioned that we will never talk politics on this podcast. Ironically, just a couple days, we are filming this on Thursday night. The big debate just happened on Tuesday. We are still not technically talking about politics during this episode. We are strictly reviewing the movie that is all about politics in America right now.
I'm talking about it. No, we're not here to talk about policies. We're here to talk about what I think is the film is asking a question, and it's asking, I think, a good question beyond "Am I a racist?" But what is racism, and what does America look like right now with racism? And we're looking at how the movie presents it, and it's impossible to not talk about these topics. So disclaimer, if you don't like talking about race or racism, just get it out now. Just pull it out of you. And you'll understand why in a minute. We're talking about this. So.
But before we get into that, let's start off with some cinematic news.
Cinematic news.
See, it just feels right. Ocean's 14 is in development.
It really shouldn't be.
I popped this in the group chat a couple days ago. You seemed excited about it.
Yes, I think the popcorn in me is like, yeah, Ocean's 14. The reality is, probably not. If this is the greatest one they've ever made, I hope so. But it's not. They're gonna cash in and just, I love the Ocean's movies, all of them. Don't care what anyone says about each of them. I love them all.
If we can get most of the original cast and the original director, I think it probably is one of those few sequels that might not feel like a cash grab and might actually be done properly.
Yeah, I just wonder what the plot line would be. I'm curious.
Speaking of things that conflicted us, Beyond the Spider-Verse is once again indefinitely delayed. Indefinitely, that's a strong word. To at least, they said that you will be lucky if you see this in 2027.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to...
Apparently, there's been a lot of shuffling around at Sony. There's a lot of rumors going on about... we should get you like a mat or something. There's a lot of rumors that people didn't have faith in it. And they said that actually a lot of the movie was already done and they scrapped it to start over.
It's almost like you blue-balled us.
It's almost like two guys last year were kind of right.
Well, whoa, we're not right yet until they make the second one.
Joker 2 debuts on Rotten Tomatoes with 60%.
Okay.
Not a high number.
Yeah, Lady Gaga's in it.
Yeah, not what we were thinking. Obviously the end to the franchise.
It's not a fight. Come on. Why are you baiting me? This is for clicks, right?
Yeah.
Buddy, it's not a franchise if it's 2 movies. You got to be at least 3.
Speaking of franchises, Josh Brolin. You love Josh Brolin.
I do.
He's going to star as...
You look really concerned.
Where'd that come from?
Sounded like your bathroom.
Did you precariously place anything on there?
No. I pissed and then I left. Like I normally do.
Did you wash your hands?
Yeah. First off, every guy knows you can get your dick out without touching it, right?
But
you've never...
Yeah, technically you can.
Yeah.
But you don't give like a shake and like...
I free shake it, dude. No hands. And then I elbow the fucking thing.
Josh Brolin is going to star as Hal Jordan in the new cinematic universe. He's going to be Green Lantern.
Who gives a fuck? I thought Ryan Reynolds was Green Lantern.
Yeah, but they're restarting the cinematic universe.
That's gonna suck. All right.
They're doing the new Superman. It's a whole new thing.
Again?
Yeah.
Dude, this isn't.
They already casted the guy.
Well,
He's been in the suit and everything.
They're comic books, dude. You can do that with a comic book, but you can't do that.
They're clearly doing too much. They should have started with a
They're
plan.
just setting money on fire. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
And lastly, in cinematic news, the EGOT himself, James Earl Jones, passed away this week. So we like to say rest in peace.
You before me, though.
Yes. And we will talk more about Am I Racist after the break.
Everybody has a vision. Everybody has a dream. Something that needs to be captured on the big screen. We at Fort Wayne Media love taking your passion projects and bringing them to life, whether you're a passionate artist or a small business owner. With expert videography and photography, we're going to take what you love to do, what you love to make, and transform it into a cinematic experience. Fort Wayne Media.
And we're back, and we're talking Matt Walsh's Am I Racist, starring none other than Matt Walsh.
Am I Racist follows Matt Walsh in a sort of serious, half-serious mockumentary documentary as Matt Walsh asks the question, Am I Racist? Delves into the world of racism around the country, seeing both sides of the question, people who are anti-racist, the literature around it, the ideology, and then he also asks the everyday common person what their thoughts about racism are. And through it all, you might gain a different perspective, you might not, but Matt Walsh makes you laugh, he makes you cry, all in an effort to answer a question where he's mostly not taking it seriously and kind of is. Am I racist?
Yeah. And this is from the Daily Wire. They put out a couple movies like this. The big one was What is a Woman? I haven't seen that one, but I think you have.
I have.
And then they put out another one last year that I really wanted to see. Never got around to it. Lady Ballers. It looks incredibly hysterical, but definitely low quality. This one was, I think, probably in line with What is a Woman?
Yeah, I would say What is a Woman is objectively better, as far as the serious side. I think in this one it was a little tougher. Things felt a little bit more forced. We'll talk about it more, but What is a Woman, much better. But Am I Racist? I still think if you've got a sense of humor, if you don't take things too seriously and you can take it. This is a great movie. If you're someone who's really uncomfortable about these topics and issues, this is not the movie for you.
And it's interesting how you phrase that, where it's like, if you are uncomfortable talking about these topics, it's funny that, ironically, the people who would normally say that they're comfortable with these topics are those ones. Yeah. So it's an interesting play. My mom always gave me advice as a kid. She was Jamaican. And she had like a ton of different sayings and different ways of expressing herself. And one of the things that she said was to never talk about race. So, Mom, I'm sorry about this episode. But she always,
good advice.
She pointed to her arm and she was like, never talk about this. And when I asked, like, what does that mean? She's like, color. Never talk about color, race, whatever it is. She was talking more specifically like when I go to school, when I go to work. Those are topics you avoid. And it is true in a sense because you don't know where everyone is coming from. You don't know what people have experienced. So in some ways you can offend people. You could some people might even want to hurt you for things that you say. And it doesn't matter whether they are logical or not because race is a very emotional topic.
I think it's fair to say that most of the people he talks to, as far as the anti-racist question, are literally just saying white people are the worst human being, are just evil, and there's nothing they can do about it.
So this actually reminds me, there's a good story that you have of a friend of yours.
Yeah.
That I think relates directly to this movie.
Yeah. So one day I'm sitting down, I'm hanging out with a friend, and we both just got to college. I had been there for a couple of years. They just got in, and this friend is white, and they're talking to me, and they're like, Joe, we gotta apologize. And I'm like, what'd I do this time? It's like, we gotta start apologizing to black people. I'm like, what? For what? What did I do? And basically, this person just gets into this rant of just basically telling me that we have done so much crime, we as white people do so much damage. We have all these privileges and all these things, and I'm just looking like, but I don't do any of that. Like me personally, Joe Adzovich, I'm like, I'm not gonna apologize for one. I can't pick this in the same way that you can't pick to be brown, in the same way that someone else can't pick to be black. Like I told him, I'm not apologizing for this, and I go, it's ridiculous that I have to apologize for something I don't think I've done wrong. Yeah. And it was like an hour-long argument of just, I'm wrong, I don't get it, and just that I need to be sorry for being who I am, which, as far as I've been told my entire life, never apologize for being who you are.
And I kept thinking about that story because that always cracked me up, because this movie is that for an hour 40, whatever it was. It's very similar to Borat in the sense that Matt Walsh is somewhat playing a fictionalized version of himself, going around the country and disguising himself hilariously to talk to different people who are experts on racism and
Diversity,
DEI,
diversity,
equity, and inclusion.
There you go.
So talking to experts in that DEI field, and talking to just the general public about how they feel about race relations in America. And it's funny how a lot of those people who are experts in this all go your friend's route of like saying that we need to apologize and we are the top of the pile and we need to do better and we need to do the work.
But there's also nothing I can do about it.
Yes.
I can't get rid of it, but I also,
You can't acknowledge a person's race, but you also can't forget what they are at the same time. It's like you can't notice it, but you can't acknowledge it. And it really paints people into a corner of like, there's nothing really you can do. Right. And some of the craziest things, so to bring this back to topic of the film and not necessarily the politics, it is crazy that he was able to sit down with these people because he paid the fees of like, they sit down and talk for X amount of dollars. Some people go up to $50,000. And it's crazy also that we've worked on film sets. So you know about release forms. People sign those so that way you don't have to blur out their faces.
That's right.
And if you notice in this movie, not a single person is blurred out, which means everyone signed off to be in that. Now, they may have been possibly tricked into thinking that they were doing it for something else, and they still signed off on it. But this is people...
It's your own fault if you don't read the details.
Yeah, I mean, this is people actually, saying the truth of what they believe on camera. And some of these things that they're saying, even though they think they are combating racism, ends up actually...
Yeah, at least the way the film presents, definitely, racist, it sounds more racist than solving. Like, I think the three strong factors in this movie is interviews with the regular people who, there's a good chunk of people who are just like, I don't care. Like, why are you making this about race? And then there's this obviously interviewing the other side, which is all anti-racist. But then the prices, when he puts up those prices, like one woman to get you DEI certified, $3,000. The white guilt group, I don't know what else to call it, but like $30,000 for a seminar. It's like, really makes you think like, why?
Like, do you really care?
Yeah, do you really care? And do you need to pay $30,000 to figure out you're a racist one? And like, if you can't answer that question in your heart, like, only $30,000 for.
And also, just to acknowledge the elephant in the room, apparently the neighbors want to do construction work at 8:22 p.m. There's nothing really we could do about those sounds, so we're going to have to move on. Talking about this, we're talking a lot about the writing, I would say. And we've had a lot of conversations about documentaries. This is technically a satirical documentary, technically mockumentary. It's all different things combined. But if we had to put it into some category, I would say documentary. You've watched more than I have, and I don't particularly like documentaries because I like narrative things that you can control. With documentaries, you have to like find your story. So I always argue that like there isn't really writing involved, but there is definitely writing involved here. And I think everything that we are going to say positively about this movie is about the writing, is about what is being said and the content of the movie. So on a writing aspect, how do you feel this movie fares?
It's a mockumentary more than like What Is a Woman definitely feels more like a documentary. Mm-hmm. This movie definitely feels more like a comedy aspect, and they're definitely going for intentional bits. The first one, like, he's just being rude.
Yeah, in the beginning he came off more rude as the movie progressed and like he let other people do more of the talking. I felt it being more fair towards them at least.
Yeah.
And it was funnier also because they were just setting themselves up. And in the beginning it sounded like he was like baiting them.
Yeah.
And who drills at 825? Hey yo.
Just
in the beginning when he is baiting people and he's kind of like getting them to say what he wants them to say and like he knows that he can get them there, he just has to be a little bit rude and have them react to it. It kind of comes off like skits and less of a cohesive story, because I think what Borat does well is that it really feels like this is a real person going around, whereas in this movie it kind of feels like he is not only playing himself, but he's breaking that fourth wall at the same time.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of some of the stylistic choices in the editing where they cut to black and they put up quotes and different things like that. It's funny, but it takes me out of the movie experience because it feels less like a movie and it feels more like just a collection of skits that are just related to each other with a central theme.
Yeah, What Is Woman definitely has a clearer narrative and it's more clean. This one felt a little sloppy. Yeah, more disjointed and all over the place. But I think it has a goal, and I really don't care. Dude, like, can you, like, call the neighbors? Like,
I don't have their phone.
huh?
I don't have their phone.
It's 8:30 at night. You can't drill, I'm pretty sure.
Something, that's all I know.
I don't know. Are you allowed to drill at 8:30 at night?
No. You're allowed to drill till 10 o'clock.
Joe looked it up and it said that you have to stop drilling at 6.
Oh, yeah?
He's at least, I think, doing a good job of exposing the one side. The side that... Because really what I think at the heart of it, I said, is the money aspect. Is like, well, if we solve racism, then these people aren't getting paid. $30,000 to tell you that I don't feel safe in this room right now, and if you need to cry and leave, I ask you to please leave the room. You're being paid you're paying someone $30,000 to do that.
As much as I enjoyed myself,
Laugh a
I
lot.
laughed so much. It was like watching like Superbad for like the first time. Like it was just so funny. But I will say that not everything hit. Once he puts on the suit, then the movie starts taking
Slow
off.
burn.
Yeah.
Slow burn. It would have been just really great if he just let her talk and just asked pointed questions. And he did a little bit, but not enough. And that's why the later half of the movie, where he's legitimately just asking questions, is so funny.
Cinematography wise, I think it was a little bit all over the place. It was uneven. Anytime they do the cutaways to like him reading a book and stuff like that, those are so overproduced. And then when you get to the other shots, they're not to that level because they're obviously like hidden camera type, situations. And I was like, I kind of want it all to be the same. Not that it should all be polished, but I think everything should have felt like hidden camera-y, so that way there's nothing that really takes you out of it.
I think, though, that's kind of like the artistic style. Like the overproduction of him learning.
I mean, it's hysterical. I get the joke.
Yeah, I think
But
that's part of it.
I think the thing for me is that it's funny, but it's not a film, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, hysterical, but I can see this broken up into, like, skits on YouTube or something like that. Not necessarily a cohesive kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where I would have wanted the style to kind of stay through. So jumping around, we covered writing, we covered the look of it, we covered the editing. Let's talk about favorite moments, because there were plenty of moments. So many moments. Just one-off lines, like when he was like, where was the cry room again? Like, and it really just paints a picture of where we are in society right now. But I think easily one of my favorite moments in this movie was, and this is all spoilers at this point.
Yeah, because this is real,
Yeah.
things that happen. You may not believe it. I couldn't believe it. That's why I was laughing so hard.
They really did also hide a lot in the trailer. I watched the trailer. That's how I kind of happened on this, and I remember you told me about What Is a Woman. But they really did, similar to Deadpool, they didn't put a lot of this movie in the trailer, which I really liked, because there were a lot of moments that actually genuinely surprised me. One of them was the recreation of the Jussie Smollett incident.
That felt like top tier SNL quality.
But that one really stuck out to me. What about you?
Tough, really tough. So many. Has to be when the money comes out.
Yeah.
Has to be when the money, because like
I was like waiting for him to say like, aren't you gonna pay your reparations?
And because she's debating it, because she's like, but that's also I think a moment of genuine clarity where the person that he's talking to, that he's trying to expose, deep down knows there's something wrong here. Can't express it, because if they were to express that, it would like destroy everything they've ever written, wrote, thought.
Yeah, it's painting yourself in a corner.
Yeah. What I really think needs to happen there is like I just think more people need to have stuff like that, and not to get too political or anything. To deny that there hasn't been racism is silly. Like, everyone's a little racist. Avenue Q, I don't know if you ever heard of that off-Broadway film.
No.
It's called Avenue Q, and there's a song called Everyone's a Little Bit Racist. And it's funny, and it's true, and it's great. I think in that moment there's like, she's calculating her head, because deep down she knows, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. And that's what he's trying to expose, and I think that's my favorite moment, because it's the funniest, because when left with the choice of like, wait, this is wrong, I get what you're saying, she just quadruples down, and does what I think might be generally one of the funniest social moments ever captured on camera, ever. Like, I'm just so glad I got to watch it.
And it's not even just a matter of what happened, but it's a matter of who did it.
Yeah.
Because she's like the top woman. And
white people savior.
Yeah.
Your hero.
Savior complex.
Oh my god.
Other moments that stuck out to me, obviously, were the Sesame Street woman.
That was insane.
That was insane. I've never heard about that story. Did you?
Yes, I've heard about that story.
So that was a complete story that I had no idea that even happened. And then when I see like a lot of the news clips, that is another surprising thing of how much kind of research they did to pull all those news clips. And like, I didn't realize that not only that didn't happen, but how many people were talking about it. And when he asked a very important question of what is the race of the person in the suit, and she was like, I don't know. So I was like, that kind of like that makes your whole point. If that person is not who you think it is, then that defeats your whole argument.
Never disclosed to me.
And it's crazy.
That's great.
And then another interesting moment that I really liked was the race for women, the dinner.
The dinner was
really
good.
The dinner was really good. And then the guy who wrote the book, not titled Hate Crimes.
Hate hoax, yeah. Hate crime hoax, yeah. That guy was like the most real, and like you love to see it. I think another good moment is when he goes to the biker bar. Obviously, maybe it's so funny in a place like that, and that's always been my experience. I've been to those kind of bars. Man, people are very kind. They obviously they know they're on camera, so maybe they're saying things more. Maybe they could be hiding. Anybody could be lying in this movie, right?
Yeah.
But generally, when I've been with my dad and we go out to places like that, my dad's a rougher, tougher kind of guy. Kind of definitely hung out with that biker type crowd. I have found that is generally the ideas that have ever been taught to me.
I mean, your dad, I think this movie doesn't solve racism. None of the people in this movie,
and he doesn't
on the
want
other
to.
side,
it's a joke that he wants to. Yeah.
None of the people that he's interviewing can solve racism, but I think your dad could give it a shot if anyone could.
If there's one man on the planet who can solve racism, it's my father. He really is.
Yeah. The
only point I want to make is that it's so funny because when I was growing up, my dad said first rule of a bar is you don't talk about race, politics, or religion. And that's just always been a thing. And it's just so funny that the less you talk about something, the more it floats out of existence. But people don't want to forget, and for lots of things, it'll get too political. But it's just always funny. That's always been the rule. And not only were those people willing to talk, they questioned the guy who was asking the question, which most people are afraid to do. What makes great comedians who make jokes about skin color, race, or anything like that, what makes it funny is how ridiculous That's what's funny about it. Like, it's ridiculous to think that that's true about you.
Yeah, every good joke has a little bit of truth in it. Before we head into final thoughts and ratings, because I feel like we talked about everything.
Sure.
I do want to mention one thing. I saw Beetlejuice 2 earlier this week.
Beetlejuice?
Yeah. I still call it Beetlejuice 2. It was okay. My dad hyped it up as a really, like, amazing movie. He says it's one of the best of the year. I was like, buddy, you haven't even seen Dude 2. Merch coming soon. But I bring it up because there's one joke in the movie that I feel like went over everyone's head. There's a situation where Beetlejuice takes a living character into the afterlife area, right? And there's a police force there, and they're like, "Oh, that's illegal. You can't bring living creatures in here." And they keep talking about them in third person when they're not around, and they call them fleshbacks. And I was like, Tim Burton.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo.
Respect. So,
like,
here's the question. Is the joke making fun of people who use that? Like, it's interesting.
I was like, bold choice, Tim Burton. With that being said, should you go first or should I go first? I feel like I should go first.
To even say which one of us should go first would, I think, be wrong. I'll be honest, I'm going to step out of the conversation right now.
Why don't you do some stretches in the meantime? All right, Matt Walsh's Am I Racist? It is funny, hysterical, absolutely ridiculous. You will not believe some of the things that happen in this movie. And if you think that we spoiled a good amount of it, we really haven't. You have to watch this movie. I think if you have a good sense of humor, if you are open-minded enough and you want to, hear about some sensitive topics in a funny light, I think this is a perfect movie for you. I know that this is not a movie for everyone, and I think in this world where everything is politicized, it's hard for this movie not to be. The beginning is a little bit baity, but the rest of it really soars in letting people talk and letting people tell their experience, which in itself could seem funny to a certain type of people. That being said, I do feel like it feels more like a collection of skits, especially in the beginning, than it does as a cohesive story. So I would not go as far to say that this is a film. The budget feels all over the place at times, and I do think this is more about the content of the movie rather than the movie itself. It's not doing anything in the cinematic realm that we haven't seen before. It's very basic in that sense. It does feel kind of like an overproduced TV movie in a sense. So I will say this wasn't quite the theater experience, but it is the only place you can see it right now. So, go see it in a theater. With that being said, I will give this... I'm stuck between two numbers. I think in a film way, I want to give it a 3. But for the amount of fun I had, I want to give it a 4. And in this podcast, we do whatever the fuck we want. So I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. JP?
I really think if you want a more serious look at a question, watch What is a Woman? That being said, I think Matt Walsh's Am I Racist? Ask a very good question. Half takes it seriously, half doesn't. But I think towards the end, it really is asking the question and really is pointing out with anything in life, there are extremes. And when there are extremes, there's usually extreme thought process, thinking. And he points out the ridiculousness of it. And I think the fact that some people are literally making a living doing this. Like, if there's one thing that can be brought to light that I hope this movie does, is that it takes down the business of capitalizing off, frankly, white guilt.
Not to cut you off, but literally one of those people makes more in one seminar than I would have in like a full year as a teacher. It's crazy.
They make more in one seminar than some people make in an entire year. So yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous that these people are profiting off white guilt, and in some places, I think even when he's doing his own workshop, he literally, you watch someone who kind of is on the fence and then truly believes, and like this fabricated thing that he wholeheartedly doesn't believe, but he sells it enough that they do believe it. And I think that's like, if there's anything to take away from this, regardless of where you stand, the fact that the people who are profiting off of the thing that they claim is a bad thing that people have profited off of, like, imagine saying that one group of people has profited throughout history and saying that that's wrong, and now I'm going to profit off the very thing that these evil people have profited off of, and I'm going to talk about it. Like, if that's not a big, like...
Hypocrisy.
Big hypocrisy, I don't know what is. And you know what? I got to laugh because I think and I'm going to compare to What is a Woman, which I think is a lot more serious. You know, we're talking about way more serious stuff because it affects the body and things. This is just thoughts and ideas, and so it definitely leans more to comedy. That being said, I laughed a fucking ton. I laughed when everybody was uncomfortable. Did not give a shit.
You were the loudest laugher there. I was the second loudest laugher, and I think being the only minority in this theater, it made the couple next to us 10 times happier when they saw me being happy.
Yeah, because imagine I was in front of you, this guy.
Being front row at that, and just being like, aha!
That being said, it's a 4 out of 5 for me. But, you know, that's from a particular lens. So let me just end with that. This has been another episode of Take 303. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you're following us on Instagram at Take.303 and 4way_media. Make sure you're following us on YouTube. Leave a like, leave a comment. Are you racist? Answer the question.
The poll is, are you racist?
The poll is, are you racist? Yes, no, unsure, non-binary. That would be a good one. Hopefully, catch us next time if we stick to a schedule that we haven't stuck to in the last 4 months because of craziness. But we'll be seeing Speak No Evil. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.